we're looking at the winter solstice coming up in a week. And the solstices, the interesting thing about this is it's very northern centric. You know, winter solstice is the longest night of the year here. In Australia, it's actually summertime right now. It's their summer solstice. So, I mean, I have friends I've done readings for from New Zealand and Australia, and then you have to turn it around. You have to treat Capricorn as though it was Cancer, because it means the opposite there. It literally does. So Capricorn is about winter. So a southern hemisphere Capricorn is really more like a Cancer, and the winter solstice is where the light is reborn. You know, but we don't get to have that light yet, and this is the key of Capricorn. It's where the balance of the seasons shifts. And you know it's shifted, but it's a long, dark slog before you actually start to see any brightening out there. It certainly doesn't happen while the sun's in Capricorn. It's a very dark time of the year. And because it's so dark, that has a lot to do with what Capricorn's about. You know, Capricorns start off at birth with the most difficulty. You know,
because they're in the dark.
Yeah, because you're born in the dark. You're born having to struggle with everything. It's like a comparison. A story I like to tell is about the acorn. You know, an acorn falls from a tree. That acorn doesn't know which way is up or down. It has to figure it out. Where do I put my roots? Oh my God, how do I even sprout? What? And it's just this horrible, insecure, frightening time. And many people who have Moon in Capricorn, Earth in Capricorn, which you do, Sun in Capricorn, strong Capricorn people, Capricorn rising, have that memory of when you're young. Is like, oh, I wouldn't do that again for $1 million, you know, because it's just so frightening. As time goes by, it's like once that acorn gets it, and it starts to get oriented, okay, the roots are anchored there, oh, the storms come along, and life feels really dangerous, and you feel really threatened. But gradually, over time, so gradually, you can't really tell that it's happening until one day you realize, wow, I'm really strong. Wow, I'm really sturdy here. Those storms that used to like completely terrify me, I hardly notice them anymore. And it's about the long, slow, progressive development of physical mastery in your body, in the world. But it doesn't mean you don't ever get sick or that you're good at everything. But it's about the emotional feeling of being in a body. And it's emotional because it's an Earth's water polarity sign. All of the signs are understood only in the context of what's opposite them. Right? It's like you can think of each opposition, like Cancer and Capricorn, as being a thing. It's like a bar with oppositely polarized ends, like a magnet. Right? So Capricorn is polarized away from emotions, and Cancer is polarized toward them. But emotions are what Cancer and Capricorn is about. You know? Capricorn is about the need to develop mastery in order to become safe. You know, so well, Cancer is about the need to be safe. So they work together. And Capricorn is also a social sign. It's about our responsibility, our duty to our ultimately to our planet. Starting off with to our family, to our community, to our society. And the more we grow, the greater our sphere grows. You know, when we're children, our responsibility is to our family. You know, clean your room, do your homework. You know, or to your school, to do the jobs that are assigned to you. And then as we grow, we start to choose our own work. And all of those cycles of growth are marked by transits of Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn. So every sign, well, every sign polarity really, every opposition of signs vibrates in I need to develop a vocabulary to describe these things because the words don't exist yet, so I'm still kind of coming up with that. But it's like there is a sign and a house and a planet that rules that. And they're all different vibrational expressions of the same principle. Right? And the Capricorn principle is found in the 10th house. And, so the 10th house is the arena, it's the place where we play out our Capricorn selves. And the sign that's on the cusp of that house colors that principle for us. It affects it in a way. So it is very complex, but it's ultimately really simple at the same time. And Saturn represents the actor. It's the part of ourselves, like a personality. And its movements through transit show where in our whole self we're being kind of put through our lessons. Because Capricorn's about our lessons, what we have to learn. And some of the signs, like Aries, Mars moves around the whole circle every 2 years, so its cycles aren't so significant. Aries is not a cyclic principle, but Saturn and Cancer both are very cyclic. Cancer, because the moon goes around, the whole thing every month, but whoa, are we ever affected by those cycles? It's it's the cycles of our emotional body, our menses, our the moon, the full moon out in the sky. That's
everybody notices.
Totally, you can't ignore it. And the cycles of Saturn represent stages of maturity, of growth, and we go through in a normal lifespan. We go through 2 and maybe 3 full cycles of Saturn. So that has to do with our learning, the lessons, and how we integrate them. It's the process of being educated belongs in Gemini and Sagittarius, right? But what we do with what we've learned is a Capricorn thing. It's like that's where we apply our lessons, and where our lessons become more practical. They're more like I think I've talked about the movie The Karate Kid. Did you ever see that? It's rare. Most people have, I find.
I see very few movies.
Okay, there you go. That's why. If you'd seen more movies, you would have seen that one.
Very few.
But it's about a little boy that wants to learn karate, and all about how his whole process of how he learns it is very much about Saturn and Capricorn and how we learn and how that whole thing works. Like he starts off he has no money, so he has to work to pay for his lessons, and the teacher just puts him to work. It doesn't tell him anything about karate. It just says, okay, I want you to wax, I've got a dozen classic cars, big giant behemoths, and I want you to apply the wax this way, and I want you to rub the wax off that way. So it's getting these movements into his body, but not telling him that
this is part of his learning.
Exactly, and then there are other jobs he has to do too, painting the fence and sanding the deck, and it's all the same thing. I want you to bend your wrist this way when you're painting up, and bend your wrist that way when you're painting down. And the kid just thinks the teacher's arbitrary and bossy and crazy. Yeah. But he really wants to learn karate. Yeah. So he's willing to go through this insane process. Yeah, exactly. And finally, after he's done this so long that he can't take it anymore, he blows up at the teacher and he says, I didn't sign on to be your slave. No, I want to learn some karate already. And the teacher said, you have been learning karate. Yeah. The kid doesn't believe it, but he proves it just by showing him how these movements, have been ingrained in his body. So all he has to do is call it wax on, and his body goes like that. And he uses that as a block. So it's like seemingly he's made this quantum leap. Suddenly he knows a lot about karate, and a minute before he didn't think he knew anything. But really he'd been learning it this long, slow, progressive way.